Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of the Property Investors Club. Today I have Kelly with us. Kelly, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. I think what we should start with talking about is, because obviously our little Property Investors Club involves a variety of people in our network who we just use to discuss some deals with, to talk about, new things which are in the market. I guess we also talk about lenders and where to get your money from, that kind of stuff. One of the things which I think is really valuable having such a strong network is to be able to rely on people for some advice. And at the moment, you are our go-to person in terms of talking to accounts.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I
do try.
The number of questions that I have about accounts, it must be 1,000,001. But I think before we start off with that, I think what would be really useful for people who are watching this is the fact that getting involved in property, we can all do it. We've all come from different backgrounds, as we've talked about in previous editions. But also, you can manage property portfolio working from home and being pregnant.
Yes, I am.
So how are you doing with that? Because that must be mental, trying to manage and run a home, run a business, look for new property stuff, try to manage the properties that you already have. How are you coping with all of that?
It is very difficult trying to do everything. And also from the pregnancy side of it, it's like feeling ill and getting tired, so you have to have a lie down. All I'm doing on a day-to-day basis really is just trying to split my time and saying, well, if I have a couple of hours on the property, a couple of hours to do the house, then sort the kids out, sort the tea out and everything. So it's just trying to prioritize and give us, even if it's an hour a day doing the property, then at least I'm doing something. I'm always going, I'm not stopping. So yeah, it's difficult to try and fit everything in.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice though, because people who are out there who are looking to get involved in property kind of use there's not enough time and I've got work and I've got the kids. And I guess if it's something that you want to do and we can find some passion in that, then it's certainly doable.
And you find the time. And to be honest, like things like looking on Rightmove and Zoopla, and it would probably be late on the night when I'll put the kids to bed, and then I'll sit and I'll go through and find some properties, write them all down and do the stacking up and all my favourite thing. I love doing all of the numbers and finding out whether they'll work or not. But you go through hundreds and hundreds and you might have maybe 5 that you think, oh, well, they'll work. So
look at you throwing the accounting in already. I love going through the numbers. Kelly, late at night, I'm just bothered about watching Coronation Street in Emmerdale. People always talk to me about, when do you have time to watch the TV and the soaps and stuff like that? And what you just said there about managing your day, managing the times in terms of being efficient within trying to build your property portfolio, it comes down to whether you really want to do it or not, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's really looking at your goals, isn't it? Yeah. And how strong they are. Are you wanting to do it, or is it just a case of it's something that I'll do in my spare time? Is it something that you want to do full time, or is it something that you just want to dip in and out of? And for me, I do want to do it full time, and I am doing it full time, so I have to make the time for it.
Yeah, we were flicking last night. We were having tea. We put the daughter to bed. She's up and downstairs because he never wants to go to sleep straight away. So eventually got to settle, sat down, had a bit of tea, started flicking the TV just to see what was on, and then Coronation Street. No, it was Coronation Street or Emmerdale came on, and the wife's like, "We've never seen this for about 12, 18 months." And not that we were avid watchers, but now there's other things more importantly to do. There's some fantastic webinars that we've been catching up on recently, and some Zoom meetings. Obviously, our network in terms of our discussions on what's going on with COVID-19 has been really key in terms of keeping up to speed with what's going on as well. And there's just more important things, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have the networks every week. We have our planned networks in the Zoom calls and everything, but I must admit I do still catch up on Coronation Street and Emmerdale.
Well,
Yeah, I have them all on Sky Plus, and I do catch up on it.
and we'll not tell Gary that. We'll not let him watch that, because when he's out at work, and we need to get Gary on to talk us through the electrical side of, looking at the property as well at some stage, because that would be really useful. But when he's at work, you're sneaking in the odd little Coronation Street rerun.
No, I'm not.
Wow. I tell you what's really interesting though, because we talk about property and we talk about being pregnant, and there's a women in power group that, really help and support each other out and trying to kind of, you guys getting together again, another investment network which helps everybody out. You're still able to do quite a lot of stuff because, just because you're pregnant, it hasn't stopped you guys building up your portfolio. So tell me a little bit about what you've been doing over the last couple of months, and also what's in the pipeline.
It's been difficult, hasn't it, for everyone, where they've been stuck in the house and not being able to get out. But I was continuing looking for houses, doing the online viewings, and then as soon as we were able to go out, I got myself out there viewing again. So I've still been putting offers in left, right and centre. So we've got 2 properties still going through, and then one of our older properties, we've revalued that, and we currently remortgaging. So we've got a few things in the pipeline. I would say 3-4 months down the line, and then they'll be up and running and ready for a new tenant to live in them, hopefully. So fingers crossed.
Just in time for you to get back after a little.
Just in time, yes. Not long. I've only got a couple of weeks to go. So yeah, I'm thinking, will I be actually on the hospital bed and signing forms for revals and things? But fingers crossed it'll all work out in a timely manner.
And I think that's what people need to work around, that there's a process, isn't there, involved in terms of buying a house and going through the right process, getting the house, refurbing the house to the specifications that you guys want, and then getting the right person in to rent it, hopefully somebody who's going to look after it and take care of it. Looking at when do we refinance it in order to actually put on with the next investment, when do we look at actually if the tenant leaves, what do we need to do? So whilst it's something that can be a passive income for some people, it's also could be a full-time job as well if you wanted it to be. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it is. At one point when I first left my accountancy career, it was a full-time job, and it's just at this moment in time where I've had to try and prioritise and to fit other things in. Everything with COVID as well, I mean, it's just turned everyone's lives upside down, hasn't it, and changed everything. So it's just piecing things in at the right time.
And I guess the good thing there that you mentioned, the fact that you have an accounts background and also priorities, is that's the beautiful thing about being a property investor, is that if 2 or 3 deals come up, you can spend, so a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and you can spend a lot of time with them. But actually, if you're quite comfortable where you are, or, you need to wait for some refinance, you can go and play golf.
Yeah.
Go and play golf a little bit, relax, can't you? Or you can have another baby.
Yeah. And go to, well, hopefully I'll be going to some baby groups and chilling out with all of the other new mums as well. So we'll see what that comes off, because I don't know whether it'll be sometime next year that something like that happens.
Yeah, and that's a whole new conversation about COVID-19 and pregnancy and baby groups. The good thing is that I can't go and have another baby. That's really good. Although if I did, that would be quite good as well, because the amount of property investment I could then buy would be huge.
Yeah, definitely.
Fab. So let's get to some accounts, because one of the things where, and I've had my own business now for over 25, 30 years. But one of the things I never really learned at school or university was, how do I look after myself from an accounts point of view? So what are some key things that you would say are really important in terms of starting your journey from an accounts point of view?
I think I mean, the first one that comes to mind for me, being an accountant anyway, I've always looked after my credit file, making sure that it has got a high score there, because you never know when you'll need it. And within property, you are going to need it at some point. I know a lot of people do say you can buy property with zero money and this, that and the other. However, at some point you will need to come up with a deposit, or even right at the end for the refinancing, they will look at your credit score and your credit file to see if you're worthy of being able to borrow money. So I think the number one thing maybe is, even for brand new starters or for teenagers that are wanting to get into it, 17, 18-year-olds, is just check what your credit file is and what people can see on that, because that will then lead to the borrowings, whether it be loans or using a credit card to use that money to do the house up. You will always need some form of help and some form of finance.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that young kid. He was borrowing all of the money off his dad, but didn't have a kind of like a credit trace at all. So if you're paying by cash, and especially if you go back to the old days and pay by cash all the time, we used to think that was really good. But what it does is it stops you having some kind of credit footprint, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm, it does. So from really day one, as soon as you get a mobile phone, everyone has a mobile phone now, but instead of having it in your parents' name, have it in your name, so that it shows every single month that you're paying something. It all goes towards the same thing. So for mobile phones, if you do rent or have your own house, have all of the utility bills in your name if you're wanting to try and build your file up. So there's a number of things that you can do. Make sure that your name is on the electoral roll. I think that's like one of the main things. If you don't have any credit history, get a credit card and just be putting your petrol on or some shopping on. Make sure you pay it off every single month, so that it just builds up. The history behind it builds up, because all they're basically doing is looking to see how you've managed your borrowings in the past.
And so, there's quite a few apps now, isn't there, that you download the app. Some of them are free. You can check in terms of what your credit rating is, and they also give you quite a lot of good top tips, don't they, in terms of how to build up your credit score, how to manage your credit score as well.
I mean, you can get everything online, can't you now? So if you go onto any of the Experian or checkmyfile.com, it'll give you all of the information that you need to do to try and follow and to build your credit up. I mean, for anyone, even if they are wanting to rent, if they wanting to get a mortgage, they do need that. So the earlier you do it, the better.
All right, so I've built up my credit file a little bit. I've checked it, I've managed it. It's doing all right in terms of figures and numbers wise. How do I then go about trying to buy a house, or try to get the finances to buy a house? From an account's point of view, what thoughts do you have on that one?
So, I mean, really what you need to do first is look at your personal finances. So, like, before you even think of going and buying, it's just going to be a case of sitting down. You can either have a pen and paper or a very simple spreadsheet, and having a look at all of your incoming and outgoings. So are you spending less than you earn? Like, it's so easy, but a lot of people are like living beyond the means, so they are spending a lot more than what they're earning. So to me, the first thing is look at your personal finances and reduce your outgoings It could be you've got two sets of outgoings. So you've got your fixed expenses, which you can't really do anything about. So if you've got a mortgage, you've got rent, or you've got a car, so you've got car payments. Them are the things that you can't really do that much about, unless your mortgage is coming up to renewal, so you can try and get a better deal and things like that. But really, you're stuck with them. The variable expenses are the ones that you can try and cut down on. So it's like Sky, Netflix, things that they're not essential, and you could probably cut down on to reduce your outgoings. And once you start seeing that on a monthly basis, I mean, I've always done it from like being 16, 17, I've always had a spreadsheet and to know what is going on in my accounts. If you've got credit cards, have everything on there just to identify and set budgets for things. So you've got, you go to the hairdressers and you're buying clothes, just set yourself budgets rather than just going out and spending willy-nilly. Then once you're on top of your own finances, then you can start going out and looking to buy a property.
And I like that in one way, Kelly. And then, you know, I work and spend a lot of time in the world of performance psychology, and it's purely a mindset thing. Because all of a sudden, when you were telling me about that, the first thing that was running through my head was assets versus liabilities, assets versus liabilities. And obviously the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. But there's another part of my younger brain, which, and I know I'm a little bit older now than I used to be, but my younger brain used to be, oh my God, you're the fun police. You stop me from going out and having fun and buying my Dolce & Gabbana jeans and, you know, going to a party and just having a good time.
Oh, I remember them days.
Yeah, I know. So maybe that's just a case of we're a little bit older than what we used to be. Or maybe we just didn't learn that lesson early enough. And it's taken a little bit longer to learn the lesson, the fact that actually for a short term, if I can invest in my assets and just, you know, cut back on some of my liabilities, then actually it allows me to do much more partying later on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even for myself, being an accountant, obviously you count everything that you own as an asset. So you were always taught that your house that you live in, you buy in that, and that is seen to be an asset. But then when you look at that, the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it like completely changes the way that you think. So it's like, right, so my house isn't an asset because it's not bringing money into my pocket. It's not paying that money out. It's taking money away. So actually it's a liability. So for everyone, I think when you read, I mean, all of the books that you can read and you can learn from, I mean, I think one point to make is always be reading more, learning more, because it always gives you a different perspective, doesn't it? And then you can sit back and think, right, well, I've been to college and university and learned all of this accountancy stuff for so many years, and then now I'm thinking completely different to what I used to. So it's just a big learning curve, isn't it?
It is, and as long as we keep doing that, and the more we start to think about how can I get more assets and how can I strip my liabilities, because there's a lot of stuff that we don't need. No. It's a nice thing to have. It's a want. It's a social kind of being in. I need to be involved in society, so I need to have this to fit in. And actually, we probably don't need as many of the liabilities that we have. And for me, one of the things which is massive is gym memberships. So loads of people, especially around January, go, oh, I need to get a little bit trimmer, I'm going to lose some weight. They'll join the gym, they'll go for 2 weeks, and then what they'll do is they'll be embarrassed that they haven't gone to the gym for, you know, in February and March, but they won't cancel their direct.
It's just coming out every single month, and you're just wasting it. Yeah.
So that's a great little tip. So we've got two good tips. The first one is let's check our credit score. Let's see where we're currently at. Take some tips in terms of, you know, what we can do to improve that. And then the next one is really start to understand how much money's coming in, where's it coming in on, and where's it going out. And that's pretty simple because you just need a pen and a piece of paper to work that out, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And
so,
then it would always be a case of trying to put some savings away, because I mean, well, at this moment in time, it's terrible in the banks for savings. Everyone's talking about negative interest and things at the moment. However, you do need to then still put something away. So when you look at all of your finances, if you can reduce the amount at the bottom of all of your expenses, then just think about putting something away to build up a little pot for a deposit for a property. Because even if you go to buy a property, you always need that deposit, whether you're borrowing and having an angel come in. I think it is good to have just that little pot to be able to rely on.
It's that rainy day money, isn't it? You know, you stash it under the quilt, make sure you've got something there.
You always need it. You always need something there. There's always something that's going to go wrong. And again, coming back to what's happening in this day and age type of thing, or all this COVID, people would be relying on just a little pot of money sitting there. So that's one of the things that I would say anyway, to just put a small amount away every single month of what you've actually saved. You've reduced the expenses and you're going to be saving it now.
And then start to hopefully invest in some assets more than liabilities. My last question in terms of accountancy stuff, in terms of conversation is, I went through a mindset for ages that I had no credit cards because I didn't want to have any debt apart from house and car, that kind of stuff. And then I had this whole conversation around the fact that it's not a credit card. It's an investment card. And I started looking at things completely differently. So instead of using the credit card for debt, for things that I might want in terms of, you know, Dolce & Gabbana jeans, Armani jeans, new car, that kind of stuff, whatever it may be, then I started using them for, you know, maybe some of my refurb costs and purchase.
Good debt.
Yeah, good
debt and bad debt.
Good asset debt more than liability debt kind of stuff. So how do I manage that? Because I literally, as you know, I'm old school. I just go there. There's all my box of stuff. There's my accountant, and we should always use an accountant in order to make sure that we're doing everything legally and above board, and you know we're not missing out on some opportunities to save some money as well. But what's your thoughts on starting to raise some money and using credit cards for, you know, as asset investment cards?
So like a refurb type of thing, do you mean? Or, I mean, that it is a really good way of doing it. Go out and find a zero interest for so long, so that if you've got 24 months of zero interest and you start buying things to do your property up, you know you've got the 2 years to then be paying it off. You always need to pay off more than the minimum payment each month. Okay. Don't just stick to the minimum payment, because at the end of the 2 years you'll still end up having to pay a big wadger out, or then transfer it to another zero rated and continue paying that. So you need to plan it so that you know how much you need to pay every single month. By the time that interest free finishes, you should have paid the balance off. But again, it all goes towards your credit file as well, because it's shown that even if it is big massive chunks, you reducing it down to smaller amounts over the the next 2 years and getting it all paid off at the end of that card.
All right, so here's an idea, and I'm just thinking about this now in terms of if I was buying my first buy-to-let, I've gone through my credit score, I've got a little bit of money in terms of actually a little bit deposit. I'm going to use my credit cards to work on the refurb kind of stuff. I get my tenant in, and instead of using the money from my rent every month, I just pay off my credit card for 2 years from that rent, which hopefully be more than minimum. At the end of the 2 years, I've got no credit card. I've still got a property asset, and I've still got some money coming in from my tenant. Cash flow. Oh my God, I love the world of accountancy.
Oh, good.
I think I like it now. So Kelly, you're not so boring after all. We've got fun. I'm now just going to buy a new pair of jeans.
Yes, go and get your Dolce & Gabbana.
Absolutely, love that. And you can tell I'm old school going with D&G, can't you? Interesting.
Yeah, I don't even know whether they're out anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure they are, but I'm sure the cool kids are wearing something different now. But so how about that then for a little process for somebody to follow? Dead simple, dead straightforward, and therefore all of a sudden they've got some kind of asset which is giving them some money back. Brilliant. Love that. Right, Kelly, I think 3 top tips there that I think anybody who's going to get involved in property should really kind of stick to. Always check with your accountant first and foremost, but that's a nice little process. And congratulations on liability number 3. Because well, yeah, are we including Gary as a liability? No, Gary's an asset. He brings money in.
He does, definitely.
Brilliant. And we're going to get Gary on. We're going to get Gary on to take us through a rewiring and what to look for, aren't we? So that anybody who is looking at property for the first time, because wiring a house and what it looks like is such a complicated process if it's not your industry. For someone like Gary, he'll explain it in dead simple terms that everybody will be able to pick up something from it as well.
Definitely. We'll have to get him booked in.
We will. All right, Kelly, it's always a pleasure. I know we're catching up next week in terms of our little network group. So thank you very much for that. And we will speak soon.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Bye.